floor is open. Should drugs be legalized in the United States? So, Peter, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah. So to open up, the short of it is that I think drugs should be legalized because it would take power. Number one, it would take power away from the police to be able to stop you willy nilly, right? So they always use like a pretext of you didn't put your blinker on, or we had to do a Terry stop on you, and then they happen to find drugs, and then they use that as a pretext to get you into larger trouble, and they can ultimately arrest you. That's number one. Number two, it would actually make it safer for everybody who already uses drugs to be able to continue to do so and not fall out from fentanyl or have it altered by another substance that would be actually more deadly for the individual. So you would actually save money on both fronts by making it more safe for individuals to take drugs, which they're going to take them regardless. And it would also save money with law enforcement. You wouldn't have as many cases of law enforcement being able to search you willy-nilly because the drugs would be legal at that point. And those are the two pieces of it that I think are the strongest arguments. And number three, I don't like paternalism. Paternalism is the father knows best attitude that the government has taken, where we're going to tell you what to do. It directly contradicts the rights of the individual, which is what the country is built upon, right? That you have autonomy to decide what you do to your own body. And the government stepping in and saying that you have no right to do this, we're going to make it illegal, is totally in contravention to that. So those are my reasons for why I think drugs should be legal.
All right, so what I'm gonna go Ricky, Lifestyle, Deborah, and anybody else want to request to come up, please do so.
All right, yo. Thank you. Great topic. Really feeling what Pete had to say. So, I've advocated for total drug legalization for the last 25 years. Ever since I found out that the reason that drugs were originally made illegal was to go after specific racial groups. Cannabis was for the Mexicans. Um, the opioids was for the Asians, and specifically the cocaine was for black people. I'm a black man. It was specifically for black men because I'm going to read this title, and it is the Negro Cocaine Fiends Are the New Southern Menace. And back in 1913, that was headline. And they were saying that, oh, these Negroes is doing this cocaine and they're going out here and they're doing this and they're doing that. That is the reason drugs are illegal. And as we sit here today, think about how we grew up and we heard, oh, the drugs this, the drugs that. All of this stuff used to be legal. And the entire time that it has been illegal, the government has been in charge of shipping it in. Whether it be the FBI back in the 30s when they first got invented. First, they was going after black men for that the thing that was going after Jack Johnson for crossing state lines. But then they immediately got into the drug dealing. The damn CIA during their entire existence. Oh, we're going after the communists. No, they were really going to the Southeast Asia and going to those other places to get drugs to ship here. And they would use that drug money to fund their illicit operations, right? Drug criminalization is unacceptable. Uh, it is race-based, and we should reject it, and especially, in the black community. We're crazy about it. Oh, go after the drugs. Go after the drugs. No. Go after the criminals who are doing actual crime, not the people who are engaging in capitalism, which is dealing something that people want. I'm against drug use. I've done this stuff over the years. It is bad, but people should do whatever they want. This is America. We should have that basic freedom. I'll land there for now.
Lifestyle.
Well said.
Deborah, you could go ahead. I'll wait for you, and I'll go after. I'll refer the mic to Deborah, and I'll go after her. Thank you.
Deborah, you're up. You have to unmute.
Hi. I said I'm in New York, and from the stuff that I've seen over the past few years, um, like Times Square, I had never seen this. I had only read about it in books, people doing crack in the open. I mean, it was crazy. I think was this a couple of years ago? It was during COVID or right before, and it was just really crazy. And people actually, I had never seen anybody smoke on the trains. They're smoking, everything on the trains. And so here it kind of seems like it is, but I hear what you guys are saying, because there's a lot of movies out there that put the pieces together, that talk about how the government is involved. And if you look at the historical documentary of the mafia, how it got started, yeah, it's exactly what you guys are saying. And I've read books or seen movies, and everybody, because the Coca-Cola, didn't the Coca-Cola have cocaine in it? And I know that my grandmother said that the marijuana used to just grow, because she would be like, those reefers, I can smell those reefers, and so I think it was legal. It was just freely legal to people, and they would do it if they wanted. And then I guess, yeah, the government got involved, because it does make a lot of money. And have you ever seen the movie Two Guns, with Denzel Washington? And I always forget the guy, but anyway, it that tells a great story. It kind of throws Bill Clinton into the mix, with the crack cocaine coming into Arkansas while he was governor. So I don't you guys might know about that too. So I'm just
That's
gonna
Mena, Arkansas.
step out. Hmm? Hmm? When he
Mena,
was
Arkansas, where Bill Clinton was dealing cocaine.
Yeah, he was, but and also when the whole crack cocaine epidemic came, because when it happened, I really, because I was never really into it, but I would just kind of see it, read about it, go to movies, and this kind of thing. But like when they started bringing in, look at Two Guns, because I don't want to spoil it for you, but they talk about a governor, and it's Clinton. You should look at the movie Two Guns. It's actually pretty good, with Denzel Washington, and I can't remember the other guy, but it's pretty good. And if you look
Well,
at it,
you make a great point, Deborah,
mhm.
and Ricky as well. I was in a space last week with Isaiah Washington, the actor, and he actually speaks directly about his experience in the military bringing kilograms of, I believe it was heroin, back on military transport planes. And he's open about this.
Mm.
So, I mean, this is something part and parcel that the government was engaged in. They pardoned Oliver North, and you looked at during that time who was the director, um, or was involved with the CIA, and that's George H.W. Bush,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And look what happened after they took out Noriega.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, the Bush family inherited all of those hotels, and all the cocaine that was being distributed was then done through the Bush family. And you could look into this stuff. It's
Yeah, I
right
mean,
there for you to see.
when it was happening, when George Bush 2 got in, I was digging into all of that. And even now I remember when people were tracing the RFK, JFK assassinations, they were tracing them back to him. So now that you're talking about it. But yeah, and then when I actually worked after Katrina in Louisiana, and we were going into Arkansas, and the people there in Arkansas were telling me stuff. The locals were telling some stories, man. It's like they were, they were, if it's actually true, it would make an excellent movie on Clinton. It sounds like he was a hot mess. And I did see a picture of the young black guy that's supposed to be his son. He looks just like him, but he's tan. He was very tan. And he actually said that his dad was helping to take care of him, until they came to the White House. So they have some real history in Arkansas. They were talking about how um they were never able to have a baby or whatever, and then once they had the baby, that's when he became governor. So,
So
but
Mark
I
yeah,
want.
Wahlberg, Deborah. Mark
but
Wahlberg.
yes, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, you guys got to look at that movie. It's a great
So
movie.
I want to
It's
interject something, because
okay.
if drugs were legal, right, would we
Hmm.
have the same amount of drug addicts or more drug addicts? Would we have, or less drug addicts? Would there be less crime or more crime? And I don't think it. I, I'm
Have you ever been to Amsterdam? Have you ever been to Amsterdam?
no. But I think so. I haven't been there, but
Hmm.
I've heard a friend of mine. He lives in England. He
Mhm.
said he's been there. I guess
Mhm.
it's like their red. That's the one I got the red light district and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
like, it's just that section, but
Mhm.
he was like walking through there. You just hear all types of crazy sounds, and you see all types of crazy stuff, and people like whether they're screaming or moaning or agony. It's just he was like it was just weird. So it wasn't like it was sexy or anything like that, but it's just that one section. So it's very much controlled. So going back to the United States, a part of me would say, okay, if we legalize drugs, it's just like prohibition when alcohol was illegal and it was a lot of crime. It was crime around in that industry, but now, but when
Mhm.
it became legal, you just put an age limit on it, you see a decrease in that type of organized crime or crime. So it has the pros and cons.
Mhm.
Do we have more alcoholics? Well, in the black
Mhm.
community, why is it that
Mhm.
City Hall, is so quick to issue out so many permits for liquor stores, but in
Mhm.
suburbia, they limit the amount of liquor stores. So I think it's more of a public policy matter than the actual drug itself. So if it is legalized, maybe it is more pros to legalize drugs. That's what I'm saying.
Um,
Mhm.
if I could step in here now, so marijuana, cannabis became illegal when they switched over the prohibition on alcohol. So they made alcohol legal because there was too many runners and there was too many gangsters and the mafia was tied into it and it was they couldn't put a hold on taxes and all that type of stuff, right? So weed was very much regularly just grown in the land and was legal to use. We used hemp out of the cannabis stalks and stuff like that for paper and all types of stuff. It was a whole industry, but they literally classified it illegal in the process of legalizing alcohol. Just for a historical note. Now, I do think that we should legalize all the drugs. And Dana, you mentioned like what would happen. What I think is going to happen, in my prediction, is that yeah, you're going to see a uptick in drug use. And you probably, because of the uptick in drug use, you're going to see crime uptick as well. However, if you give it enough time, you're probably going to see crime and drug use dwindle because it's made legal. People get to see what's going on. Like, I get to see, okay, this is what happens when I do, let's just say fentanyl is legal. This is what happened when I do fentanyl. I don't want to end up like that, right? Even it's legal, so I get to see it in my face, right? Like Deborah was saying when she went to New York and in Central Park, people were just doing drugs, you know what I mean? So, it was a little taboo.
It wasn't cool though. I mean, because I think if you just well, maybe if they take the malls are closing down, so if they take a mall space, and open it up for drug use, but use it there in that area, where you are, and keep it away from anybody that doesn't want to be using it, because when they kidnap these girls, that's what they do. They give them drugs, and then these young girls or whatever. um but it was scary to me to see it, because I never seen anybody do crack
But
like
that's my
that.
point.
I never seen it.
That's my
Yeah, I
point.
never.
People are
Oh,
going to
okay.
be shocked when
Mm-hmm.
drugs become legal. People are going to be shocked because imagine this: people who already use drugs, to Ricky's point, are going to increase their usage in drugs, right?
I disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, just let me just finish the point. And this is just a prediction. I feel like people are going to start using it more. And then off of us, normal people who don't use drugs or don't do alcohol, whatever, and our children, right? Because it's really about the children who come up in the legalization of drugs. They're going to be like, I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be on drugs. I don't want to, whatever drugs do to people. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, I don't want to do that. And I think that the morality is going to go up based off seeing that. Now, that might not hold true in my prediction. I do think that when you legalize drugs, especially harder drugs besides cannabis, people like, look, I was in the cannabis industry. When people got in, when we got able to like basically be a part of that industry, people who never smoked in their life started smoking. They literally said, I had customers literally tell me, I've never smoked in my life, but now that it's legal, I want to try it because they want to. You have people who really want to abide the laws that are whatever land that they live in, and so people really do that. But if we legalize it, you're gonna have people that have never done cocaine do cocaine. You know what I mean? And possibly get addicted. Now, I think that's another thing we should talk about. If you legalize drugs, how addictive are these drugs going to be, right? So in reference to cannabis, certain areas you can in the dispensaries it can only be at certain levels, right? The cannabis can only be so potent, right? And I think that the government is going to try to do something like that. They're going to like really push down the potency on legalized drugs. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I'm just saying, like, you don't want to put raw fish scale out there, right? And people just start doing cocaine and then they're like super addicted, right? Because that is going to cause problems. But I do think that in the long run, based off of perception and people seeing it, they're going to be like, you know what? It's legal. I don't want to do it because there's a result, right? There's a consequence that happens when you do these hard drugs. I'll end right there.
Ricky, you want to jump in?
I sure do. All right. So I think that one of the biggest obstacles, there is a professor, Dr. Carl Hart, and just to debunk a lot of stuff our brother was just saying, he spoke about, he had to go do some H. I'm a black man in a black community. I'm scared to death of that shit, and I love all fucking drugs. I love Molly. I don't like cocaine. Like, I did it like back in the days when I was young. I don't like it. I don't do it, but I like drugs, and all of the shit should be legal. When people say more people would do it, I'm in New York. Cannabis is now legal. I'm not doing more cannabis. I'm growing a little bit, do a little whatever. I'm looking at the stuff they have in the stores. I initially was opposed to some of the regulations, but I think that people are maybe getting a little too high. I think that we should embrace responsibility and all of that. But regarding something like a cocaine, or regarding something like a hard drug, the idea that people are just going to be doing it because it's legal is absolutely ridiculous, as evidenced by me, a person who likes drugs. I'm just, you heard about the damn shit in the 70s when all the fucking heroin addicts and all that shit. People are scared to death of it. And especially in the black community. Like if you go like to the hood, like y'all from New Rochelle, niggas like in a project ain't going near no fucking cocaine and fucking doing no shit like that. But towards the suburbs a little more, people would be all right, yeah, I'll do a little line or two and they'll be a little more into it. I think that our fear of these things justifies these draconian drug laws and our overreaction to it. More people will do it. Why would more people do it? I've had this argument with people over the last, like I said, 25 years. And the people who usually say that are the people who would do it. Other people aren't going to do it. I'm never
I,
doing no
I
damn
have to
H.
disagree with that. I'll just say that. I just
No.
disagree with that. Go ahead.
I know most, but think about it. Your opinion is the majority opinion. My opinion is the minority opinion. I think that the way we've been doing things, where we're scared of this, and we need to tell people they can't enjoy themselves and they have to live the way that we say they have to live. No, let people. If you want to do this shit, do this shit. We try to make it as safe as possible, but one person shouldn't tell another person how they're going to do their leisure time. By doing that, you have drug robberies. By doing that, you have overdoses. By doing that, you have people getting framed. The thing that you're concerned about, somebody doing more drugs, is that worse than cops framing people like they're doing in Baltimore? Is
Well,
that worse than the thing with the other cop who was telling the woman they got to do stuff or whatever, da da da, and then he killed himself because they was about to put him on trial because he was framing all these women over the years using the drugs? The prohibition is the worst thing in the world. That's what we got to get rid of first, and then we could deal with everything else.
I mean,
Can I jump in? Can I jump in? What's it thinking? So in contemporary circles, right, when you're making what $100,000 more, in the '90s, you go to parties and just like my friends who are now in their '70s and '80s talked about the Bill Cosby parties in California, just the Hollywood parties in general where drugs are in the open. They're open. At parties where people make a lot, the stockbrokers. And I just wanted to say I used to work the operations floor where we had to change out technology on the trading floor, and we pull up the floor, and you guys, we found everything. I mean, everything. And then I found out, that yeah, there's an alley for this, there's an alley for that, there's an alley for this, and an alley for that. And then as far as the usage of it, I read my just go to a physician's desk reference and read. They line out, what um the side effects are and what can happen to you. Read the PDR, and if you read the PDR, yep, you never do heroin. And so I think, I mean, people do it legally if they have money now. So it's the ones that are middle class and lower, that are not doing it legally. Because if you, I mean, if you guys ever been to any parties where people are freaking millionaires and the CEOs and all of them, a lot of them were doing drugs. They're not, and then I'm thinking now that the politicians are because nobody's drug testing them. So
Beloved, they found
anyway,
cocaine in the White House. I don't know if you
In
remember
the
that.
White House.
hmm
Yep.
And they were, and
so
people tried to blame it
I
on Kamala. We don't know if it was Kamala's. They tried to put it on Biden's son, because he was already doing drugs. You know,
I mean, if you
I
did
know
you
I've
guys
been in the hustle lifestyle for a big period of time.
mhm.
I never did hard drugs though. I just did weed as far as like pushing it, right? Even
But you
using
saying other
drugs.
people are going to do it.
What do you mean, sir? And who said that actually?
You were saying earlier that other people, because it's legal, are going to do it, and
What
you
I
one of the
said,
people that's
sir, if I
doing
can
cannabis.
correct you, what I said is that when cannabis became legal and I was in that legal field of when cannabis first became legal in the area I was in, people from people from all over was coming to my area to get weed because it was legal there. And I had customers, and I had a bunch of customers who never smoked weed, done gummies, done edibles, nothing. They never have done it in their life. You're talking about people who are older too, like I'm 39, so you're talking about people around my age and up that never have done any forms of cannabis, but because it was legal, they wanted to be a part of it and try it and stuff. Now, I'm not saying that they're advocate users currently. What I'm saying is that we had a lot of new users, people who never used cannabis because it was legal, wanting to try it. You know what I mean? And
Just like
so,
having a glass of wine. I mean, of course, and then the older people that are buying it, they probably were doing it anyway, but they may have been getting it. They might tell you that too because, I know a lot of people like 70, 80 year olds, they smoke, so
I don't know
um
one of those people.
hmm?
I agree.
maybe like one, but not like a a bunch of people who just started doing it because it was legal.
No, yeah,
I,
yeah,
yeah, I think
that's
they
how
I
were doing
agree.
cannabis.
With,
it. I think they
That
were.
is a fact. I mean, I wish I was taking records and things, but like, yeah, I probably had about new customers who've never buy cannabis. I mean, it was a good percentage. I would say at least about 15% of the clients I was getting were new clients who had never tried cannabis. I've had some, and my business model was based off of hiring clientele, meaning basically people in the suburban or the millionaires, billionaires, right?
Where are
Um,
you? Where are you located, if I may ask?
when weed became legal, I was in the DC area. So
Oh, okay.
we had the clause that,
That's the capital of drug use. Oops.
ma'am, and
I
this is
mean,
but this is what I'm trying to say.
Everybody in DC smoke weed.
yeah.
No, dog, everybody in America smokes weed. But what I'm saying is
I mean,
if you listen to me, we had people come from Maryland and Virginia where it was not the same legality,
I can see that.
especially in Virginia, right? And so you had, and where Virginia is where all the richer people are, and a lot of the, nothing against white folks, I'm just saying it was a lot of white folks who are prominent. They live in Virginia, so their kids, you know what I mean, were buying a lot of the cannabis products, right? And then they would come back to Virginia and get caught up, right? And then their parents would have to bail them out. And Virginia only went legal really because Maryland and DC were legal. And because there's a tri-state area where everybody travels throughout the three states, Virginia has to fall in line. Like you can't be charging people for cannabis and the other two states that are right next to you that y'all have political agreements with or concordance with y'all. They're not charging anybody, so something had to change, right?
Well, there's
And
something about
go ahead.
Virginia. Virginia has a lot of military and a lot of I mean a lot of the Pentagon and people that really need to have clear heads. So I could see why it's a state where,
But they did
it hasn't
predate
been.
Maryland.
Hmm?
Virginia predated Maryland as far as legalization.
That's not
What?
correct. Actually,
Ver-
Maryland went right after DC. DC was first. Maryland went second with medical, and then they went recreational.
Look it up again,
Um,
brother.
and then Virginia came in with recreational because it's they're still having a hard time in Virginia with the recreational laws.
Yeah, I could see
This
that.
is
I could see
marijuana.
that.
But you know, I have a problem with that. I think a lot too many young people are smoking
Mm,
marijuana, and it's making them more like
crazy.
lazy,
Hmm.
zombie. Is they're just not. They don't have. It makes them not have that get up and go out and get it. They're just too
Hmm.
relaxed, and then they're
But you know what, Dana? To your point, that is true. But here's the thing: it's the culture and the music that really influences the young people. See, when I was coming up, people smoked weed, but weed wanted to be smart. And actually, a lot of the people that worked at Apple when Apple was coming up, Apple
Yep.
computers, a lot of them were weed heads, right?
Yep. Techies
So,
are.
it's not really that. It's just that they don't have the drive to want to be smarter or better in life. Like my generation, yeah, we smoked weed, but we wanted to do stuff. Like, you know what I mean? But we also weren't growing up under a culture where the music is promoting an active lifestyle of drug use. You know what I mean? And people talk about this all the time. Like, we went from a culture where we were the drug pushers to now we're the culture of the drug user, right? And then you got all these characters like Big U and Big Meech who profited off of not only the music that promotes the culture of drug use, but they're on the back end, they're selling the drugs, right? And they're making the money off of that, right? And so I just think that if you're gonna legalize drugs, cool, but something can't you can't have both, right? You can't have the culture pushing the use of drugs and to be a drug addict, right? And then drugs be legal. You're going to diminish society doing that, right? There has to be some type of consciousness level and a moral balance with the
But I,
with the legalization of drugs. But I do agree with legalization of drugs, like Peter and like Ricky. Go ahead. I'll let it.
yeah, I love the dialogue back and forth. I tend to agree with Ricky. I think that you're taking away the forbidden fruit aspect of doing something, right? When the government or anybody tells you you can't do something, you actually it's shown psychologically you want to do it more, right? So you're going to take away that forbidden fruit aspect, and I don't think heroin and cocaine are going to be used as popularly as marijuana just because of the social stigma that has surrounded it for so many years. So I think you'll actually see less people using it. um, just because you could use it doesn't mean they're going to. And I think that an important part of this is what Deborah spoke about, right? That you shouldn't be able to use drugs out in the open in public, right? You're not allowed to drink in public unless it's on like an area that's specified for drinking. You're not allowed to actually go out and get intoxicated and pass out in the street, right? So a lot of these things need to be tied to what we expect as a society and where people are allowed to consume these things. So I think that
The
in
only
an
thing I
important
don't agree with what you said, and just to interject, and I'm gonna let you finish, is the only thing I don't agree is that you forget that people are multi-drug users, meaning that yeah, they smoke weed, but they also do cocaine, right? They do cocaine, but they also might hit a little crack every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of people that smoke weed that also use cocaine. You know
But
what I'm
where are
saying?
they
So
doing it? Where are they doing it? They're doing it in their homes, or are
well,
they doing it in
now
the
nowadays,
open?
so I'm glad that you said that, beloved, because to be honest with you, I never wanted to do anything but smoke some weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like my peoples that I used to associate with, a lot of them was doing the cocaine, right? But they didn't do it in front of me. They knew my position, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
never did it in front of me. And matter of fact, I ran into one of the rooms right where they was at, and they were like, you know what I mean? And I was like, my bad. You feel what I'm saying? So, but I also have been in situations where I've been in a whole room full of people who use cocaine, and they're offering it to me more than one time. Like that, you just keep offering it to me, and I keep denying them. I keep saying, "No, I'm good." You know what I'm saying? But those people are also multi-users. They smoke weed and they do cocaine, right? So I just think that, and again, I'm just a feeling that you're gonna have a increase in drug usage if we legalize it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think that it's legal, so people are gonna go crazy, like, oh snap,
Well,
I'm not gonna get in trouble no more. I
yeah,
don't gotta worry about being pulled over. Let me get this cocaine and you know what I
well,
mean?
Well,
the
Cocaine will blow
lifestyle.
your damn heart out.
But it will, right, and how it's synthesized now. But I think if you legalize it, you could actually bring down the level of harm that it would cause people. Like I've used cocaine in the past, and I like cocaine. I think it's a good drug. It if you're feeling a little drunk, you take a little blast, a little bump, you wake right up, and you're good to go. I used to call it like an emergency bump. If I had to go and wake up real quick, I would take a little blast. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I used to sell cocaine back in the day, and most of my clients were
Whoa, whoa,
working
whoa, brother, don't
professionals.
say that. Don't say that
Yep.
on these
Don't say.
lives. People are
Why? This
definitely listen. Let me tell you really quick, and I
the
want you to finish
statute of
that.
limitations has ran
No,
on it,
brother,
so
no.
I'm
yeah,
I'm
Big
very
right.
well
U,
aware of this.
Big U just got arrested for talking about
Well,
way
Big
This
too
U
much
got
damn
stuff on
misdemeanor
sure.
podcast.
bullshit.
Big U
No,
got
he was
Big
part
U
of a
got set up.
racketeering act, yeah, it was a continual criminal enterprise. I know an individual, a friend of mine actually was close to him and his family, so I'm intimately aware of what he was charged with. It wasn't just selling cocaine; it was a racketeering
But
influence
it
group.
wasn't what he was charged with. It was they used to charge him. See, they were researching him on the internet, watching his podcast, watching him talk about stuff. That's why I was like, wait a minute, don't tell people you used to sell it because
Well, he
you
was
don't want
still
to.
involved in criminal activity, and that's what racketeering is, right? If you have
Adult
a
conversations.
a continual criminal enterprise, right? So the statute of limitations on my criminal conduct has ran.
Okay, I wanted to
So
ask about some of these other drugs. So you guys, like,
Well,
as you
I want to.
said, oh, oh,
We have
sorry.
a couple of new speakers real quick.
Okay, okay,
I want them to get in
okay.
on it. We have Indy and the Negro. Go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, what's happening, Dana? Appreciate the space.
Hey.
Yeah, Peter up here. I hate to bring the race card in it, but you know I got to do it. Cause he's saying a
I
lot
know.
of he's saying a lot of unrealistic shit. Uh, first of all, uh, I'm I'm black and I'm from the black community, and adding more drugs and more guns, which they just legalized or they just made it so you don't need a permit to have a gun in a lot of states now. So, mixture of adding more drugs and more guns to my community is destructive. So, when you sit up here and speak that, Peter, you got to remember where you from versus where we are from. So, if you add more guns and
So
drugs,
because where you're from, we gotta support racist drug laws? Are you
no, no,
serious?
no, I
Laws that
did.
only apply to
Bro,
us?
why is you
Laws that
interrupting
only
me,
apply to
bro?
us?
Why is you interrupting me? I didn't even say that.
You
Yeah,
kind of made me.
Let
Okay,
me,
Ricky,
let
okay,
Ricky,
me,
okay,
let
let
okay.
him
me,
finish.
let me
Let's let
finish,
him
Let him
bro.
finish.
finish.
Let's let him
Let
finish.
me
We'll give you a
finish.
chance to come back. Definitely.
So on the other standpoint, when I watch a GOP um the RNC and they are doing a big push on fentanyl, how bad fentanyl is and how it destroy communities. It has destroyed communities. They come up with all these data points and how they have given a lot of people from their community rehab, but black people have been criminalized for drugs, overly criminalized. So if you legalize all the drugs, are you gonna go and open and free all the brothers from jail that's doing 20 years for the little bit of cocaine they had or the drug convictions they had? Are you gonna free the jails? Because I overly disproportionately feel with a lot of black drug dealers. Now let's be honest.
Now you
So
talking.
I just want you to when you saying these things, I want you to be mindful who's been overly criminalized and targeted from the executive branch with putting drugs in our community that destroy our community, which a lot of people like to point the finger and say, "Oh, the black men ain't in the homes and all of this," but a big percentage of them have been thrown in jail for trying to sell drugs because they couldn't get hired because it was racist. They couldn't get a
because they're
job because
illegal.
the employers no, listen to what I'm saying. So if he's talking about legalizing drugs, you know what drugs have done to the black community, bro. And you know what too many guns in the black community will cause. So with all the things that are going on, that's not a good thing to do. But what I'm saying is you have to look at all the disproportionate uh the system being disproportionate and how we're disproportionately locked up in jail for drugs. Go back, look at all the laws, how they made uh cocaine different from with the sentencing, and that affected us the most. But a lot of people that uh, I've seen people say, "Oh, cocaine is a white man drug," right? But it wasn't realized the way it's been criminalized with us. I know people doing years to life just because they sold cocaine for a couple years. You know what I mean?
So
So,
basically,
so
let me
I just
introduce
feel
this,
like,
Indy, real quick. So are you saying, and I will agree with this. Are you saying if you want to legalize drugs, then a lot of people that are in prison for a long time, they need to be able to come home as well?
yeah, if they ain't murdered nobody
Right,
or
they ain't murder nobody.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you got to really look at that. And like I said, I ain't trying to get on no Republican Democrat shit because Biden is the one that came up with, the crime bill that targeted a lot of black people, but his son had crack in the White House too, but he didn't go to no damn prison. And then just like there was that chip guy that was on one of these uh uh shows that we did a couple weeks ago, talked about how he had been arrested. What he say,
As
17
a
times
juvenile,
in the same.
as a juvenile,
It don't matter because a black juvenile would have went to damn juvie and stayed there. Okay, so don't
but he
we
spoke
not
about
finna
how
play
his
that game, bro. And
community
then
came around him and
yeah,
helped
you
him
got to be
bail him out.
careful. You got to be careful how you. Okay, but you got to be mindful of how you say that, Peter, because you're not considering the destruction that has happened to the black community because of drugs, bro.
Wait, I
But
yeah.
But
And
that's
this
I'm
would
just
end.
because
telling
But
you right
because
but
of
now.
Indy, this would
prohibition.
end it.
If you
Indy,
end the
this would end it.
prohibition, then the
Yes.
destruction is
No,
over.
it won't. It's gonna make drugs more accessible, and with the
No, it won't.
combination
It's
of guns,
already
I'm
accessible. You just
telling you
won't
what
be able
that's
to
gonna
arrest
do
us
to my
for it.
community, bro.
Okay,
They're the
so
ones who's
wait
shipping it in our
Listen,
second,
community,
Ricky.
and we go to jail for it.
One,
They're the
one,
ones who's shipping it
Yo,
in, and we go
family,
to
family,
jail.
we gotta raise our
yeah,
hand. But
yeah,
yeah,
but
Ricky, go ahead
yeah,
and finish
one second,
interjecting.
Ricky. Because the Negro, he had his hand up, and I know like everyone else, y'all kind of been up here since we started, which is great.
Okay.
But I definitely want to get to the new people. Go ahead, the Negro.
Yeah, guys,
well,
please please
yeah,
raise
let
your
me
hand.
land. I'm gonna go ahead and land, but I just want people to be mindful that how the black community has been hurt by drugs and how it has been really destructive to our community. So keep that in mind and remember all the laws that were created behind drugs that destroyed families, that destroyed the image of black men we've had that got
Well,
on drugs that we lost, okay, because of drugs. Okay.
I just
Y'all
want to say
just
something
remember
quickly.
that.
There's a book called Locking Up Our Own, Crime and Punishment in Black America by James Foreman Jr. And I think James Foreman Jr.'s father was a politician or something. But anyway, drugs, when they decided to start penalizing drug users for marijuana, I think Obama, uh his like somebody in his cabinet, and a lot of people were trying to legalize drugs, and some Jewish men were trying to actually do it because they said it was actually, you know the marijuana was cool, but it was the heroin that they wanted to penalize. But the black community, and the black community with wealth, or the middle class and up, they were the ones saying that they wanted the penalization. And this book is real heavy to read. A lot of times I read these books and I cry, but when you look and you see that we as Black people too, we had a lot to say with what's happening now after that 86 crime bill was written. So it's a great book to read, and I was buying it for people until and giving it to them because I think everybody should read it, but it's a
All
heartbreaker
right.
to
I want to
know.
get
But
to
thanks.
go ahead to
Okay,
Negro.
cool.
That's actually a good book. Locking up there on salute to you on that. I actually have that in an audio book. Should drugs be legalized in the United States? No. The reason why is I actually echo some parts of what Indy Lefty saying is that there's a lot of Black American people that are so locked behind the walls. But we have to keep in mind, when we start looking at a lot of these police shootings and cases, the first thing that they go to is the toxology to see what's in the blood of these Black folks and say that they were either drunk, high, and they use that as a validation to kill Black folks off, right? And I feel like this is going to
Yep,
give
George
this
Floyd.
certain,
That's what they say
yeah,
about
yeah,
George
yeah, yeah,
Floyd.
yes, and others, even the young brother in the subway. So they use this that Negro and Black American folks that they use drugs, that they're the scum of the earth and that they're evil. White people use it. Oh, it's okay. They can be rehabilitated and they can be good white folks. This is a narrative that I've been seeing being pushed for a very, very long time, which has disproportionately hurt our community, even though both communities use drugs at the same rate. Shout out to Barack Obama on that. He said that. So these are certain incidents where I think that drugs should not be legalized, or even certain types of drugs should not be legalized due to the fact of its destructive nature and what it can do to our community, and the long-lasting legacy of how drugs was used to weaponize by the government, by the U.S. government against our community. So no, I think that they need to really punish the people who's actually really bringing in the drugs and stop putting the jacket on the little corner people. There's people all around the world that's bringing in trafficking in from the Chinese mafia, all these other guys that get supports by Border Customs Patrol and all those guys. They need to be all locked up. They could do a RICO charge on a rapper, but they can't do RICO charges on the real criminals of America. It's very sad.
But you're only making the market. You're making the market that allows these organizations to make the money. You would take the money out of their hands if you legalize it.
And if I
So black people are going to
no,
be
it
the
wouldn't.
mule
It'll
for
make
your
them richer because
stupidity.
people still gonna be
Yeah,
buying it,
yeah.
and more people
No, no,
gonna
no.
ultimately
But
buy it.
people
but
don't.
Yo,
Wait,
if I
there's
could
more
say,
white people in the country that would buy drugs just by the nature of how
That's
many
because
more
there's
white
more
people
white people in.
are.
but
Yes,
I have a question for
yes.
you then. Wait, guys. I have a question for Mr. Peter. So are you going to come
And
at all
y'all
these
got
white?
most of the money
Wait,
to
Wait, Indy,
spend on the
Indy,
drugs.
let.
chill. Indy, chill. I got this, man. So you're gonna go after these white people who said that they don't even want to have weed in their neighborhoods? Are you gonna have that same type of smoke? But when black people say we don't want to have this in our neighborhoods, I don't have to respect this person like Dred Scott. I don't have to respect the rights of what a black man's presenting. That's what you're saying over there, buddy.
I don't even understand your argument. I'm saying all drugs should be legalized, so you should be able to go to CVS. If I want to go to CVS right now and I want to get a little Bolivian flake from the newest whatever brand that has made it, or whatever company, I should be able to do that. The country's built upon the rights of the individual. The government has no right to tell you what you can and can't do to your own body. I mean, I don't understand how you don't get this. Have you read the
The
Constitution?
reason why that doesn't hold weight is because some of these drugs have devastating effects on the mind as well as the public. They also then shot up neighborhoods, and also destabilized neighborhoods. So you might want to co-sign it for your neighborhood, but it's not good for every neighborhood. And to make a blanket statement like that, I think again it comes down to, like I said about Dred Scott. You don't have to respect the rights of another black man, but you want to force your will because it's beneficial for your community.
Who's
That is
So
the
forcing?
can I
I'm
premise
not
just
of
can I
what
forcing you
just
Dred
to do
add
Scott's
drugs.
about.
something? Can I just add something really
Hold
quickly?
on one second. I would like you to go to the top, and I'd like you to read what Dr. Carl Hart wrote about this. And I'd like you to take, if you can, take a look at his two books. By the way, he's black. and he advocates for what exactly I'm advocating for: bodily autonomy, right? Everyone wants to say my body, my choice. How come it's not my body, my choice here
That
for
don't mean he
drugs?
right. That don't mean he right.
But
Yeah,
listen,
He's
like
actually studied the
you're
issue. You
sending
haven't
us
studied the
another.
issue. You listening to 1980s fucking Ronald Reagan's wife bullshit. That shit is a failed strategy. The goddamn government shipped the drugs in, and that Negro did not address that. That the government shipped it. He's talking about the fucking Chinese and all that bullshit. The
Actually,
goddamn CIA
I
shipped the
did
shit
bring
in.
up the government. Don't lie on me, bro. I actually did. Oh yes,
but
I
no,
did
but
multiple
nobody's
times, sir.
forcing anyone to take drugs. What we're saying is it shouldn't be criminalized. Nobody should be sitting in prison for
You shouldn't make
distributing
it. You shouldn't
plant-based
make it easier
derivatives.
to.
People should do whatever they want as long as they're not harming, raping, robbing, or burning somebody else's house down. If you want to use drugs, if you want to sell your body for sex, you should be able to do it. It's part and parcel with being in a free society. That's the point.
Yeah, this is
So
like
so if I
try
can
to
Man,
make
add,
it
we
some
know what
more
drugs.
going
let's
on
let's
here.
take the American Indian, right? The American Indian, um, that was devastated by colonization. The American Indian has a problem with alcohol. You could just YouTube it. There's many articles on Google. They're addicted to alcohol, right? That's the biggest thing that they're addicted to. And when you talk to their chiefs, right, they find that the only way to help their people is to literally prohibit or ban it within their culture, within their reservations. Like they don't allow it, right? Because they've watched their people become addicted to alcohol, and it devastate the American Indian. So what we have to look at is that if there was a legalization of drugs, how is it going to affect our children, right? I got a daughter who's 13, and Peter, when you said it should be legal, you should be able to, sell your body and all that, like, whoa. I'm thinking about her might having to do that, because what if she gets into an economy like it is now and she feels like she needs to sell her body? I don't want her to do that. You know what I'm saying? But she does have her own decisions to make. And I feel like at some point, this is really a moral thing. Do you care about people or do you not care about people?
That's a false
Right?
argument. That's fallacious. It's not about caring about people. Everybody has the right to choose what they want to do. You have no right to tell somebody at the threat of putting them in a dungeon.
Okay,
And
Peter, let me use this
So are
example.
you
If
complaining
if
about
me and
seatbelts
you are
too,
best friends, Peter,
Peter?
me
Are
and
you
you are best
complaining about
friends, right?
seatbelts, Peter?
if you don't want to wear a seatbelt, don't wear a seatbelt.
Seatbelt
Yeah,
laws
Hold
are
on. A lot of
racist.
yeah,
people
It's
uh
been
don't wear
known to be.
seatbelts. But Peter, say me and you are best friends, and let's say, since you already use drugs, let's just say you using drugs and you get like overly addicted or whatever. And you're my guy. Like I've known you for years. We've done a lot of stuff together, you know what I mean? You think that I'm gonna sit back and just let you destroy your own life? You know what I mean? Like again, the example is that we're really good friends, and I'm gonna use a strong word. I got love for my friend. You know what I mean? We're friends. Like I've known you for a long time. I'm gonna try to pull you out of that situation.
Yeah, but
You know what
but
I
I
mean?
get what you're saying, lifestyle. But the fact is that your friend is still going to do what they want to do, no matter what you do or say, and that's a grown adult. Now, it's good to be concerned, and if your friend and you're there for your friend when your friend is ready to get help. But you can't force someone to change if they don't want to, and you can't tell someone what they can and cannot do. So I get what Peter is saying, but I definitely get what India is saying when you talk about if you're going to make drugs if you're going to legalize drugs, you definitely have to do a lot of repair when it comes to underprivileged communities such as Black Americans. And I and but I think even if drugs stay illegal, there still needs to be repair when it comes to Black Americans when we're talking about narcotics. So
Dana,
look.
I agree with you. One quick point. You actually make it safer for people to do drugs by legalizing it because there's a standard that has to be upheld for what you're going to distribute. It's licensed. It has to go through protocols. You have to check it, make sure, like with marijuana, the growing process, what they're putting in it, the extraction process for the oils and the concentrates, all of that has to be regulated. And so you get away from putting things like levamisole, which is a deworming agent they use in horses, in the cocaine, which then causes
Right.
harm in the body. You
No,
make it
I
safer.
agree with you because the prime example would be prohibition. Because when they made alcohol legal, then they had all of these regulations with it. You know, if you're drinking and driving, you can't go over this amount, an age limit, so forth, so on. So, and I think that would still be the same protocol with drugs. I'm just saying, and you know, I do agree with Indy, even though it's a lot of, you know, he's gonna bring that racial part into it, but that's a valid point. You have to do repair in communities, and on top of that, and I'm gonna unmute everyone, and on top of that, um especially with this fentanyl, a lot of women, white women and black women, and or just people, it was a lot of harm, a lot of people were dying. So it, only thing I'm saying, if you're going to legalize it, then also do a remedy for the harm that was done. So
I agree
anyway,
with yeah, Dana.
oh,
I
go
agree
ahead.
with you and Indy on that. It definitely needs to be. And Obama was one of the ones who reduced the crack
Do you hear
cocaine.
that?
Yeah,
What is that? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was trying
sounds
to
like
figure.
somebody's hitting something. The disparity is with powder versus crack cocaine. They made it 100 to 1, so you would need 100 times the amount of powder cocaine in order to get the same sentence as somebody who had crack cocaine, which is insane because you make crack cocaine from powder cocaine. But who was the predominant user of the powder cocaine? It was white people. Who was the predominant user of crack cocaine during the 80s when they passed these things? It was black people. This is what they said. And so that disparity needs to be wiped out. And Obama did bring it down. I think he brought it down to 20 or 18 to 1. But still, why should you be in jail for long periods of time for possessing or distributing plant-based derivatives? It makes no sense whatsoever. And if when you peel back the layers to it, it's all designed to have less freedom for us and to be able to use something to take more of our taxpayer dollars to justify paying the judges, the prosecutors,
Yep.
the prison system, the
True.
cops, the pensions. It's all bullshit.
True.
I don't understand how people don't see that.
True.
All right. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go around and have everyone do. Please do your closing remarks. 30-second closing remarks. I'm gonna start with Deborah.
Okay. Oh, everything you said was true, but that book lays it out because Obama, and I can't think of his name, but they were all in, they were saying that the crack cocaine penal system was gonna hurt the black and browns. And man, why can't I think of Obama's DA, I mean his lawyer, top lawyer.
Was it,
But
Eric Holder?
yes, when you read it, you're gonna be like, what? So we need to just go back and look. We kind of hurt ourselves, and yes, with the with the help, because I know somebody that spent time in, and I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting with her, and take your kids to a narcotics anonymous meeting, and they will not want to do drugs. That's all I got to say. And I really don't. I don't have a comment because, like I said, here in New York, the circles that I'm in, it seems like it's already legal. But anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Deborah. The Negro.
I just find it very ironic when black people were going through their situation during the crack epidemic. Nobody wasn't saying let's legalize drugs, right? But when white folks is dying over fentanyl and things like that, then now they want to legalize it for everybody and let the water flow underneath the bridge. I'm gonna let them drown on this one. The drugs that they're taking are very dangerous. The after effects of some of these drugs have harmed our children, has harmed our community, has almost destabilized our community. So because white folks just can't say no to drugs, um, like Nancy Reagan and all that, they can't say no. Now I and my people have to suffer for their enjoyment. No, I think the shoe's on the other foot. I think that they need to wear this out and just sober up and stay clean, straighten up and fly right. Quit trying to bend the rules because they can't measure up. That's what I see from white supremacy in this whole type of conversation in regards to the legalization of all drugs.
But what about all the black people that are in prison? You support them being in prison?
I'm not supporting our support. I didn't put them there in prison. That was white
But
supremacy and crooked professionals on all levels of the criminal justice sector.
right,
That it was
but for something that you're
that was been
advocating
complicit.
for, you're
Wait, no,
advocating
no,
for
sir. What
drugs to
I'm
stay legal, which
advocating,
puts black people in
no,
prison.
sir, no. What I'm advocating, sir, is that there are certain drugs that are dangerous for the community. The effects of that has happened to us, and you laughing about it shows that you're not serious about public safety
You have
and the
no
reasons
idea what you're
why.
talking about. Look at Dr.
Um,
Carl Hart's book and check it out because he has the data
but
on it.
I'm
Where's your
familiar. I'm
data?
from, but the thing is, I'm familiar with his work. But the thing is, he's again. I would like to hear dissenting opinions in regards to legalizing all these type of drugs. Again, just because little Johnny got cocaine laced with fentanyl, he shouldn't have been doing cocaine in the first place. So, like, I'm not gonna try to legalize it to give them the most purest brand of drugs so they can be high like Willy Wonka. All right, that's what you're promoting.
All right. Indy and then lifestyle and Ricky.
Yeah, I just want to speak to what that Negro was talking about, and where we see his knee on Jordan neck, and then we have other so-called people try to justify that or dismiss that and say, "Oh, he had fentanyl in his system. That's why he died." Oh, fentanyl is so dangerous. We need to do a symposium on it and this and that. And now you want to legalize that and just throw away all the work that the GOP is. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close this because this is a ridiculous conversation. I ain't got no issue with marijuana, drugs do in community, and I'm against that because it's very destructive. And I want to ask, I want to leave Peter with this question. Can you show me an example or several examples that have legalized how they're above all citizens in the world and just doing greater than the citizen in any other nation? Like, they're just show me that is just on top of, you know, all humanity because drugs illegal in their nation. Please give me an example of that nation so we can look at that model.
It's actually about harm reduction. If you look at Portugal's model as well as what Amsterdam has done, it actually reduces the harm that drugs cause because people are going to do drugs regardless because there's an incentive to bring the drugs in because they're illegal. So it makes it so there's a profit incentive for it. You're eliminating the profit incentive for criminals to bring it in, and then you're also having a harm reduction strategy for people that are already using them and are going to continue using them.
So
Let
two
me ask you this.
homogenous
Let
communities,
me
right?
ask you this.
Two
Let me ask
homogenous
you.
Wait,
communities.
no, because no, because I have to close out 45 minutes. I
Well,
want to get to lifestyle, then Ricky. Go ahead, lifestyle.
I can't even get a minute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No, that
Go
was
ahead. You
you
can take
asked
one
him
of
a
my
question,
minutes,
but
Indy.
I don't. Was it rhetorical or would you want him to answer it?
It's a BS question.
Let me get to
Wow,
lifestyle
really?
We
and
could,
then
Dana, we could do a
Ricky.
part
Okay.
two for this if you want. I'd like to get into this, and I'd like to talk about your not following the Second Amendment because I think that guns and I think everybody should own firearms, including felons. As soon as they're finished serving their
Well, the
time, they should own
combination
as
of that
many
with drugs
firearms as they
is
want.
a bad recipe, sir.
Well,
All right,
I
let's.
follow the Constitution,
All
my
right, I
friend.
want to lifestyle Ricky, and because I
Yeah,
did say
and you
30
don't face
seconds,
the
but people
same
closing
penalties
their
as a
mouth.
white man as we do.
So to Peter and Indy's point, I would tell everyone to look up Philadelphia and see how they are basically they're kind of modeling the legalization, right, of drugs and what's going to happen, right? Why do I say that? Well, they have programs where they pretty much Philadelphia is so bad and so drug ridden that the government there pretty much allows it somewhat, right? And it's really bad out there. Like it's really bad. Anybody that's been to Philadelphia or in the neighboring counties, people will tell you like it's bad when it
Delaware.
comes to drug use.
But lifestyle,
And
the reason for that is because of Larry Krasner, who's a Soros-related prosecutor who was installed by the Soros regime and all his puppets, and that
hold
is the
on,
reason
Peter, you
for it.
invaded on my little time. We only got that much time. You said you were gonna open another space. What I would end it with is this. To Peter's point, we have too many people in America that want to be glorified because they sell drugs, right? Let's say Trump administration or whatever administration goes into Mexico or goes into wherever the drugs are being produced, China even, and they go and stop the drug use. Well, the problem really is that there's too many people over here that want to, in America, that want to capitalize off the illicit drug use, right? And that's what keeps the cycle going, the cycle of illegal drug use and criminal activity. That cycle keeps going. So I think that we need to really study this out some more before we can all just say, yeah, we should and yeah, we shouldn't. Because Indy and that Negro made some very good points. It could just make society worse. You know what I mean? Because I do foresee people using drugs just because they're legal, because it's legal. Like Peter said, you have a right. So you can just go and do it. There's nobody that's going to stop you. And a lot of people would do things that they are not allowed to do by law if those laws weren't in place, right? People would do whatever you let them if you didn't have a law set in place. I'll land my plane.
Thanks. Ricky?
Yes, very quickly, and it was a really good space. Everybody said great stuff. So, as you see, lifestyle. We had the whole conversation earlier, and he said that he opposes prohibition. He is, in fact, a prohibitionist. We all now know that. So,
Wait. What are you
wait,
talking
if I could
about?
just land
I don't
quickly.
oppose. I don't
I just
oppose
want to land
prohibition.
quickly, brother. I'm gonna be quick.
But
So,
you said I oppose prohibition. I don't oppose prohibition.
no, I said you are a prohibitionist.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Sorry, I misunderstood.
yes. You pretended you opposed prohibition when the space first started, and then you became a prohibitionist. All right, but just to end it
That's
and
not
close it all
correct.
out.
But
All
go
right,
ahead, Ricky.
but so check it out. The drug laws were created to go after black people. The cocaine law specifically was for the Negroes, as I covered earlier in the space and I talked about the article. We need to 100% get rid of a law where goddamn Hunter Biden can measure out 21 grams of cocaine, where Barack Obama can smoke crack, where goddamn Bill Clinton was shipping in drugs, fucking Bush with the CIA, when he was with the CIA, was shipping in drugs, but we go to jail for it. If we go to jail for it, how in any way are we benefiting from the prohibition of it? That Negro, I know that nigga don't do no drugs, but when he's riding around Connecticut, they fucking stop black people for fucking drugs who don't do no fucking drugs
Yeah,
because they
stop with
assume
the
that you
F.
have drugs. Oh, I'm
Please. Slow
sorry.
down with the F. Slow down
I'm
with the
sorry.
F.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
for
assume that you have drugs just because you're black. That's the reason that we should reject these racist drug laws. Landed.
All right. This is a good space. This is the topic, Peter. This is really your topic, Peter. Um, but 45 minutes. So 10 o'clock Thursdays and Fridays, 10 p.m. First 10 minutes, I kind of, leave it open to get people in the room. And then 45 minutes. So it's 45-minute debate, that which is why we kind of went over. But at 45 minute, I do like try to cut it and say, okay, closing remarks. So, and I just want to people get used to that format, but I think it could still be a good discussion and people get their points in. So everybody that came up, especially the ones that come up in the beginning to help carry this conversation, I really appreciate you guys, and speakers that come in, and the listeners and everyone. And we'll be back tomorrow. And I think that we could probably do a part two, but I think tomorrow I'm going to add in the segregation conversation. And maybe we could blend the two and see how that goes in 45 minutes. So yeah. Peter, close us out.
great conversation. I appreciate everybody's viewpoints, even the ones that I disagreed with my viewpoint. I think this is important for having a dialogue on this so that we can move the needle on it. These are the conversations that need to be had. Um, and I look forward to more conversations like these. I hope we do a space on what I spoke about felons being able to get their firearms rights back. I don't understand why it's not allowed, and I think that's something that is on the table now with the Trump administration. So I look forward to more conversations regarding freedom and rights, which affects all of us. And I hope that we'll have good ones where people will have both sides of the argument for the future. Appreciate everybody.
All right, everybody. See you.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.